Okay, so we had been discussing, well, Baba was talking about truth, and in that context, realization and how that happens in the Atma, and it's a purely non-physical process. So, no sort of physical substances needed or associated with this process of realization, this process of knowing. And so knowing happens, that is what is realization. And this knowing and acceptance together, all of both of these are non-physical processes. But then the recognition and response that we would do according to our knowledge and acceptance, that would involve physical resources. So, say we understand the purpose of the human being. Then when we want to live out that purpose, we will employ our body, we will employ our mind, we will employ various resources like food and wood and soil and whatever, forest-based resources, anything we could be employing. So it is in the process of evidencing purpose or evidencing living out orderliness that the material or physical substances become relevant. In the process of understanding, that is a purely non-physical process. That is something he was drawing our attention to. And then he was saying, so the man, interestingly, he was also drawing our attention to the fact that, see, the man is the outermost orbit of the Jeevan. That's what we're calling the man. That is engaged with dealing with the body. So it instructs the body and then it receives sensations from the body. And so this man is constantly engaged with the physical. So he's saying even the man is not involved in this process of realization because the man is involved with the physical. What the man does is that upon realization, it receives the celebration, it receives the grandeur of this realization in the Atma in the form of celebration. It becomes extremely celebratory because it's now receiving from the inside, from the nucleus, this great inspiration, this great clarity. And that is what it also passes on then to the body and through our actions and our behavior. So he was saying, once you have realization, it's something so beautiful and so great that you can't help but contain it. You can't contain it within yourself. You can't help but share it. You'll share it and express it in the form of your words, your actions, your conduct, living, and your participation in society, basically. And that is what actually is different from tradition, because in tradition they said that realization cannot be expressed in words, it cannot be shared. It is experienced only within the individual internally, and there's no way of it being represented outside. So there was that distinction that he talked about. And then he talked about after realization comes evidence of that realization. So this, when we're living it out and expressing it, that would be part of the evidence process. So it's not just that our aim is to realize. We realize, that means we have knowledge. Now we accept that knowledge, and based on that, we will evidence that we have understood something by recognizing and responding according to that understanding. So, hi Manjuji, we were just recapping last times before starting.
Okay.
So, so now after realization of the truth comes evidencing of the truth. And in that thread, he mentioned how there has been talk of evidence before this, but say in materialism, in science, we have considered equipment or tools to be the basis of evidence. For instance, if any theory had to be proved, if some machine could detect some signal or something, that was considered to be the evidence of that theory. That is no real evidence, he said. I mean, he does acknowledge that through this process of evidence through machines, we have been able to evidence the utility of certain objects, of certain physical objects. So we know that, we have evidence that wood can be employed for stable construction, or metal can be employed for construction, or it can be employed for certain types of maybe microchips. So all of these sort of things, their utility we have evidenced, or certain types of fibers are strong enough, their tensile strength has been measured, their whatever malleability of metals has been measured. And on that basis, we have evidenced that they can be utilized in various ways. So he's saying to that extent, humankind has achieved evidence of utility of material objects. But if we were to talk about the evidence of truth, that has not been achieved. So this equipment-based evidence is not capable of evidencing truth. This is where we had kind of paused. So anything from that session or anything else even besides that?
Yeah, I'm good.
Manjuji or Nipendra?
We are good, we can continue. Thank you.
Drishta, I don't remember this in that class. Did you have a class yesterday?
No, day before. This is what we
I don't remember the day before. I don't remember talking of evidencing and the machinery, this part, or you're putting it in a different way.
Okay, so anyway, I'll rewind a little bit and start from there, and then we can
Okay.
how we have been talking about. You remember we were talking about yantra praman and ultimate satya, ultimate truth, or medium truth, or all of that. That was all he was saying in context of the fact that science has been holding equipment as the basis of verification.
The basis.
Of verification of hypotheses. I have a hypothesis. I will prove it experimentally. Means I will prove it by testing it out through certain equipment-based experiments. And when the equipment gives a green light, that tells me that my experiment, say, was successful or was unsuccessful. My prediction was successful or unsuccessful. And so in that way, that is the equipment-based evidence. But even science says that this is changeable. These interpretations of what equipment is, the equipment shows us, that interpretation itself is changeable, actually. And so we aren't able to arrive, science is saying we aren't able to arrive at an ultimate truth. And that in fact, there may not be an ultimate truth because of fundamental randomness, uncertainty, instability, things like that. So now that's why he was saying, okay, so if there is no ultimate truth, what is this? Is there some not ultimate truth? Is there some medium truth, close by truth, distant truth? I mean, he was basically saying, how can we distinguish between some ultimate truth versus a non-ultimate truth and still call it truth? Because truth will have the same meaning, that which change. So
okay, now I got it. I got the connection. I got the connection.
मध्य का सत्य और समीप का सत्य, दूर का सत्य, इन सत्यों को कैसा समझा जाए, ये एक बहुत बड़ी भारी दुर्वता की बात हो गई है. सत्य होता है, असत्य होता है.
So how do we understand this distant truth, proximal truth, medium truth, ultimate truth? So that is something very important, worth thinking about. There is a truth and then there is an untruth.
इतने हम जानता हूँ.
That is all I know.
असत्य का मतलब हम स्वयं मानव भ्रमित रहता है, यही असत्य होने का मतलब है.
Untruth means that the human being is delusion. That is all that untruth refers to.
सत्य नाम की जो कोई चीज अस्तित्व में बना हो, ऐसा कोई चीज नहीं है, कोई वस्तु ही नहीं है असत्य नाम की. असत्य का नाम हो सकता है, हमारा भ्रम का नाम हो सकता है, हमारा विभ्रम का नाम हो सकता है, हमारा नासमझी का नाम हो सकता है. क्या चीज? असत्य.
There is no such thing as untruth that has been made in existence. No such entity called untruth exists. We can give the name untruth to our own delusion, to our own misunderstanding, to our own ignorance. What name are we giving these situation, that is what we are giving the name of untruth.
यही बन पाता है। इस क्रम में हम जो जितने भी हम सोच पाते हैं, सत्य ही अस्तित्व सर्वस्व है, इस माने निश्चय पर हम जब पहुंचते हैं, हमको यह समझ में आता है, आसानी से समझ में आता है, सत्य ना तो कभी घटती ना बढ़ती, तो सत्य आदिम सत्य है, अंतिम सत्य है, ये कोई चीज नहीं होती है, केवल सत्य ही होता है, या सत्य को हम समझे नहीं रहते हैं।
So that is all that we can say, that we've given the name of untruth to our own ignorance. So truth itself is existence in its entirety. You can't say that so truth does not increase nor does it decrease. So you can't say that there is an ultimate truth or that there is an initial truth, because there is no such distinction. Truth is truth. Truth exists as the world, and either there is the truth, or there is our lack of understanding of that truth. So these are the only two things that can be there that we're talking about. So when we say truth, we are talking about that which exists everywhere. The one same thing is manifested as existence. All of existence is the same truth. And what we are calling untruth is just our inability to understand this.
यही स्थिति बनी रहता है मानव के साथ। तो समझदारी के साथ सत्य समझ में आता है, ना समझी के अर्थ में समझे ही नहीं रहते हैं सत्य को।
So these are the only states that we find in human beings. That with understanding, we are able to see the truth, understand the truth. And in delusion, we are unable to understand the truth.
अस्तित्व को समझना ही परम सत्य का साक्षी है। अस्तित्व को समझने के बाद दूसरों को बोध कराना सहज है, जैसा भी अस्तित्व के बारे में आपको बोध कराने के लिए मैंने प्रयत्न किया।
Understanding the truth is understanding existence, and that is all that understanding truth is. And once we understand existence, then it is very natural to be able to help others understand existence as well, just as I am able to help you understand what existence is just now.
ये बहुत ही साधारण बात।
This is a very straightforward, simple fact.
अस्तित्व समझ में आने की फल ही है क्या अस्तित्व स्वयं व्यवस्था के रूप में है, यह बोध होना।
So it is a natural, the natural consequence of understanding existence is itself comprehending the fact that existence is an orderly system.
अस्तित्व स्वयं बोध माने व्यवस्था के रूप में है, तब मनुष्य अपने में व्यवस्था के लिए परिवर्तनशील होना स्वाभाविक। तब हमको ये
And if existence is itself in the form of a natural order, that on its own motivates or inspires human beings to work towards finding orderliness within oneself.
ये पता लगा कि मानव धर्म एक ही है, हजार धर्म नहीं है। कि मानव धर्म माने व्यवस्था के रूप में है, तब मनुष्य अपने में व्यवस्था के लिए परिवर्तनशील होना स्वाभाविक। तब हमको ये पता लगा कि मानव धर्म एक ही है, हजार धर्म नहीं है। मानव धर्म का सार्थकता व्यवस्था में जीना ही है।
So you realize what existence is. Based on that, you comprehend that existence is an orderly system, and that naturally leads to one being motivated towards becoming orderly in oneself. And on doing that, I realized that human dharma is singular. There is only one human dharma, And dharma itself means living in orderliness.
मानव धर्म एक ही है, हजार धर्म नहीं है। मानव धर्म का सार्थकता व्यवस्था में जीना ही है, वर्तमान में विश्वास होना ही है। वर्तमान में कुल मिलाकर के सारे धर्म का भी कथन मेरे अनुसार ऐसे ही है, सब कहीं ना कहीं विश्वास करने के अर्थ में ही कहते हैं या सुखी होने के अर्थ में ही कहते हैं।
So, on doing that, I found that human dharma is singular. There is only one human dharma. There aren't thousands of different dharmas, or that is different faiths or religions. And the meaningfulness of dharma is in living with orderliness. And I believe that is also what all the religions of mankind have also been talking about essentially. So the meaningfulness of dharma is in living in orderliness and in having confidence in the present. So, and I believe, he's saying, and I believe that that is also what all the religions that humanity has come up with are also talking about. They, somewhere or the other, they are talking about having confidence and living with happiness.
किंतु सुखी होगा कैसा, इस बात के लिए जो उपाय बताया, भक्ति विरक्ति बताया।
However, how will we become happy? For that, the solution that was prescribed was devotion and what is the word? Virakti is detachment. Devotion and detachment.
और उसका प्रमाण बनता नहीं है। कोई विरक्त आदमी अपने को हम मने प्रमाणित हो गए, हम सुखी हो गए, ये भी नहीं कहता। और क्योंकि समाधि को मैं भी देखा हूँ, समाधि की स्थिति में यही लगता है अंतिम साधना का मंजिल वही है। तो समाधि की स्थिति में ना तो हम सुखी होना हम सत्यापित नहीं कर सकते, नहीं हम दुखी हैं ये भी हम सत्यापित नहीं कर सकते।
Now, but we find no evidence of that. So we find no evidence of any such person practicing detachment or devotion to be living with happiness. We find no individual living in this way to be claiming that I am happy. And I myself have experienced the state of samadhi, and samadhi is what is considered to be the highest state of what did he say exactly? Highest state of sadhana, of this practice of detachment. And all that one can say about that state is that I cannot say that I am happy, and nor can I say that I am sad. That is the state of samadhi. There is no evidence within the person who is experiencing samadhi is saying, there's no evidence of being happy or of being sad in that state.
कर सकते हैं। इसीलिए हमारा भाषा बनता है सुख दुख से परे है।
And that is why the only language that we can use for that state is that it is beyond any sort of happiness or unhappiness. It is separate from the experience of happiness or unhappiness.
ऐसा कहना बनता है, यही कहा है किताबों में।
That is all that we can actually say, and that is what has been said in the books.
ये सच्चाई है। आप यदि समाधि की स्थिति को पाएंगे अपने विधि से, तो आप भी यही कहेंगे। अब 1000 वर्ष के बाद कोई करेगा, वो भी यही कहेगा।
So that is true. And if you were to attain the state of samadhi in your own way, you will also say the same thing. And if someone were to attain that state 1000 years from now, they will also be able to say this only.
समाधि जिस स्थली को कहा गया है, विचार मुक्ति है। विचार मुक्ति में हम कौन सा ऐसा चीज को सुख कहें, कौन सा ऐसा चीज को कहें दुख कहें, ये तो बनते ही नहीं।
So the state which has been given the name of samadhi is essentially a state of liberation from all thought. And in this state of liberation of all thought, from all thought, how can we say anything about being happy or being unhappy? Neither of those are possible in a state of thoughtlessness, basically complete freedom from thought, all thought.
इसको मैंने स्वयं देखा है, ये सच्चाई।
So this is something I have seen for myself. So it is true.
तो समाधि होना, समाधि की घटना मानव में एक माने संभावित घटना है।
So the state of samadhi is a possible state. This event, that is the state of samadhi, is a possibility for human beings.
निश्चित घटना नहीं है।
But it is not a definite event for human beings.
समाधि के लिए किसी व्यक्ति का समय निर्धारित नहीं होता है। कब होगा इसको कोई नहीं कह सकता, तो कब तक होगा ये भी नहीं सकता, कह नहीं सकता। कैसा होगा ये भी बहुत सारा निश्चयता से नहीं कह सकता। उसके लिए कई प्रकार की विधियां बनाई रखी हुई है।
So it is a possibility, but it is not definite, and not a definite event. It is not definite what samadhi will be like for any person. When it will happen for someone, that also cannot be said. How long it will occur for, that also cannot be said. And how it will occur, that too cannot be said.
ऐसे नहीं कह सकता। उसके लिए कई प्रकार की विधि, बहुत सारा निश्चयता से नहीं कह सकता। उसके लिए कई प्रकार की विधियां बनाई रखी हुई है, जैसा वेदांत विधि है, आगम तंत्रोपासना विधि है और ध्यान विधि है। ध्यान विधि 50 प्रकार से है, योग विधि।
So how it will happen also cannot be said with very great definiteness. So we have come up with hundreds of different methods to get to that. For instance, there is the Vedant method, then there is the Agam Tantra method, then there is the meditation method, and there are like tens of different types of, actually said 50s of different types of meditational methods to reach samadhi. There is the yoga method.
और ध्यान विधि है। ध्यान विधि 50 प्रकार से है। योग विधि है, तो ध्यान विधि है और पूजा विधि है, जप विधि है, भक्ति विधि है। किसी न किसी विधि से हम समाधि तक पहुंचते हैं। तो उस स्थिति में यही बनता है, ना तो हम सुखी हैं ना तो दुखी हैं।
So then there is the yoga vidhi, the method, the worship method, the what's that jap? What do you call jap? It's not incantation even, repetitive thing that you. It's also kind of meditation only, of course, because you put your singular attention on just repeating something, counting the beads of the rosary or something like that. So that method. And no matter which method you utilize to reach the state of samadhi, in any way, you will still say the same thing about samadhi.
और सुख दुख को हम कुछ भी सत्यापित से हम समाधि तक पहुंचते हैं। तो उस स्थिति में यही बनता है, ना तो हम सुखी हैं ना तो दुखी हैं। और सुख दुख को हम कुछ भी सत्यापित नहीं कर पाते हैं, इसीलिए सुख के परे स्थिति है, ऐसा बोलना।
So no matter, we can use any of these methods to reach samadhi, but anyhow that we reach it, we will all still say the same thing. We are neither happy nor are we sad. That there is no way of declaring any sort of sadness or happiness. So the only thing to be said about it is that it is completely separate or completely beyond all happiness and sadness. Nothing else can be said of that state.
कुछ भी सत्यापित नहीं कर पाते हैं, इसीलिए सुख के परे स्थिति है, ऐसा बोलना बनता है। यही चीज किताबों में भी ऐसे ही लिखा गया है।
And this very thing has been described in the same way even in the literature.
ये अपने को समझ में आना चाहिए, जिससे हमको कोई आगे चल करके किसी प्रकार की हम वादा विवाद में ना फंसे, आराम से इस बात पर भी हम निश्चय कर सके अपने।
So this is something we need to understand so that we don't, get stuck in any sort of argument at any point in the future. We can be certain upon this issue at least.
में निश्चय ले सके, इसीलिए एक सूचना है। उसके बाद
a piece of information for you.
व्यवस्था में जीने के लिए हम शुरू करते हैं तो हमारा भागीदारी व्यवस्था में बनता है।
Now after that being after realization and now coming towards evidence of that realization, now after that when we start living in orderliness, then we begin to participate in the system.
शिक्षा संस्कार परंपरा में हम भागीदारी करते हैं, हम निरंतर उपकार विधि से ही शिक्षा संस्कार कर पाते हैं। शिक्षा संस्कार उपकार विधि ही से सार्थक होता है, प्रतिफल विधि से सार्थक होता नहीं।
So we begin participating in the system. So we begin to participate in the system of education and sanskar, and we can only participate in the process of we can only be successful in our contribution in education and sanskar if we are doing it by way of benevolence, completely out of, rather than for some sort of remuneration. When we try to participate in education and sanskar for some remuneration, then that education is not going to succeed.
मुख्य बात यहाँ से शुरुआत होता है।
So this is where the main point also starts.
प्रतिफल विधि से हम शिक्षा संस्कार को देकर मनुष्य को सत्य बोध करा नहीं पाएंगे, यथार्थ बोध नहीं करा पाएंगे, वास्तविकता का बोध हम नहीं करा पाएंगे।
If we move according to this remuneration method of providing education, then we will not be able to educate anyone help anyone comprehend truth. We will not be able to help anyone comprehend reality, and we will not be able to help anyone comprehend the actual meaning of existence. So, Satyata, Yatharthata, Vastavikta, these are three terms that he uses. It's a set, and that has a lot more detail inside it, which is not being discussed here exactly, but it's a set to remember. So, Satyata is truth. Yatharthata is the actual meaning of anything. So, what is the actual meaning of being human? What is the meaning of being human? What is the meaning of there being anything, trees or this earth, or the meaning of plants existing? Meaning means what is the utility, the relevance, the significance? What is its role in this larger system? That is what meaning is. So what is the meaningfulness of plants? What is the meaningfulness of rivers? What is the meaningfulness of dogs? What is the meaningfulness of bears? Of humans? What is the meaningfulness of humans then? Why are we here? What is our role in this larger system? That is the actual meaning, the meaningfulness, the yathartha of human being. And then, so that is yathartha. Then there's vastavikta, which is the reality. So there's detail on that, which he's not going into, but he's saying, anyway, that is what the object of education is, to be able to help others comprehend truth, meaning, and reality. But if you are going about doing education, looking for some sort of remuneration for it, for some sort of monetary return or material returns for it, then that you will not be able to achieve this end of helping others understand truth, meaning, and reality. Education of the truth has to be done by way of benevolence, because I want to share it with you, therefore I am sharing it with you, not because I need something from you in return. if that is my intent behind educating, trying to educate anyone, then I will not be successful, because obviously that means that I only haven't understood the meaningfulness of human beings. Because human beings are the units of knowledge order. That is what we are, that is how we function. So naturally, if I understand that, it will be my need that I evidence my knowledge by sharing it. And it will also be my need that you all also understand the same and we can live together harmoniously. So why would I need anything in return for doing that? So in that way, if we are doing education for enumeration, we are bound to fail, because that means we haven't understood things in the first place.
तो यदि हम सत्य बोध कराना है, उस स्थिति में हम उपकार विधि से ही हम बोध कराएंगे। जैसा अभी मैं अपने अनुभव बताया, अभी तक हमारा कार्य के लिए उपकार विधि से ही हम करता हूँ। हमको कोई
So if we want to help others also comprehend truth, we will only do it out of benevolence. For instance, I have shared my experience up till now. I share my understanding out of benevolence.
प्रतिफल विधि से अभी तक करने का कोई काम ही नहीं आया है। प्रतिफल हमको मिले ऐसा मेरे कार्य में कोई खाका ही नहीं आया है अभी तक।
I have never crossed the state of requiring or needing remuneration for this. That the fact receiving remuneration for teaching is something that has just never occurred for me.
कोई सीढ़ी में हमको ऐसा कोई चीज आया नहीं, इसका प्रतिफल हमको मिलना है, माने भौतिक रूप।
At no stage did this thought arise in me that I need some return for this. I need some remuneration for this.
रूप में प्रतिफल हम इसी को मानता हूँ कि हम समझा पाया, ये हमारा प्रतिफल है।
What I consider remuneration is that I was able to explain that feeling. That itself is my remuneration.
और हमारा समझाना प्रमाणित हुआ, ये मेरा प्रतिफल है। इस ढंग से मैं समझता हूँ, जिसमें भौतिक द्रव्य कुछ भी नहीं।
And that my explaining has been evidenced, my ability to explain has been evidenced, that is my remuneration. That is how I understand. There is no physical substance involved in this. There is no material substance involved in this.
तो इस ढंग से समझदारी को समझाने के लिए प्रतिफल की आवश्यकता नहीं।
So in this way, there is no need for material remuneration in helping share understanding.
ये अपने को ये पता लगे, भौतिक द्रव्य यदि आवश्यकता है, शरीर पोषण, संरक्षण और समाज गति के लिए आवश्यकता है।
This is something that I have discovered, that we need material substances only for the nourishment and protection of our bodies and for social work.
समाज गति में ये भी आता है, शिक्षा कार्यक्रम भी आता है। उसके लिए जो अध्यापक अपने में स्वायत्त रहने की आवश्यकता है, स्वावलंबी रहने की आवश्यकता है, समाधानित रहने की आवश्यकता है, यह समझदारी से आता ही है।
So of course, the educational program is also part of social work, but in that it is necessary that the teacher remains self-reliant, that the teacher remains self-governed. I've forgotten the words I've used for Swayat and Swavalambi, and that the teacher remains resolved. And that is possible, that happens through the teacher's own understanding.
ये सभी चीज आते ही है। तो जहाँ स्वायत्त और समाधानित रहेगा, वो आदमी स्वावलंबी होना स्वाभाविक है। तो कोई भी आवश्यक की वस्तुओं को निर्मित करेगा, स्वावलंबी रहेगा।
Swayat was autonomous. So, of course, he had said that you need material resources for social work also. And of course, educational programs are also social work. But within that, the teacher can be autonomous, the teacher can be self-reliant, and the teacher can be resolved. And all this can happen based on their understanding. So now he's saying that if the teacher is autonomous and resolved, then they will naturally be self-reliant in their occupation. That means they will fulfill their material needs in a self-reliant way. They will be doing some production besides education also.
तो कोई भी आवश्यक की वस्तुओं को निर्मित करेगा, स्वावलंबी रहेगा और माने समर्थ रहेगा, उपकार करेगा, समाधानित रहता ही.
So the teacher will produce any sort of necessary wealth, any sort of material resource they will produce in a self-reliant way. They will experience prosperity based on such production. They will therefore be self-reliant in their occupation, and they are already resolved. I need to listen to make sure I got it.
माने समर्थ रहेगा, आवश्यक की वस्तुओं को निर्मित करेगा, स्वावलंबी रहेगा और माने समर्थ रहेगा, उपकार करेगा, समाधानित रहता ही.
Right. So they will produce something, then therefore they will experience prosperity. That is, they will be self-reliant, and therefore they will be benevolent. They will be generous. Benevolent is to do something because you feel the need to do it. You feel the need to share something. That is upkar, without any expectation of return. So if you are producing for yourself and you're producing more than you need, then you have no requirement of seeking remuneration out of your educational exercise. So that is what he's saying, that based on production, they will produce some objects of utility. They will feel prosperous because they're producing more than they require. That means they are self-reliant in their occupations, and therefore they will naturally be benevolent. They are already resolved, that's why they've been able to do all this.
इस ढंग से एक अध्यापक का हैसियत समाधान समृद्धि के आधार पर हैसियत बनता है, फलस्वरूप उपकार करना बनता है.
What is the word for haisiyat? Does it strike anyone? It's a common Hindi word, but it's not commonly used in JV. Sorry, I'm not catching it. What do you call haisiyat in English? Not stature. Yes, yeah. Okay, capacity, qualification, ability. So he's saying this is the qualification of a teacher. This being prosperous, being self-reliant, which requires them to be resolved, that is the qualification of being a teacher.
हैसियत बनता है, फलस्वरूप उपकार करना बनता है.
And therefore, as a consequence, it is natural for them to be benevolent. I'll think of a better word of upkar later.
ये भी एक हमने अच्छी तरह से निरीक्षण किया है, हर मनुष्य में उपकार बुद्धि है. किया है हर मनुष्य में उपकार बुद्धि है.
उपकार क्या है?
उसको हम सर्वेक्षण कर सकते हैं कि बचपन में हर बच्चे को देखें, स्वाभाविक रूप में सहयोगवादी प्रवृत्ति रहती है.
Could you hear what he said? That there was this one word that I can't.
कि बचपन में हर बच्चे, ये भी एक हमने अच्छी तरह से निरीक्षण किया है, हर मनुष्य में उपकार बुद्धि है.
उपकार क्या है? Could anyone make out?
No, but I think he's saying upkar का quality.
Yeah, so he's saying that that quality is there, or he's saying the expectation is there, or that the tendency is there.
Tendencies or desire to do, you know, the tendency. I think tendency is the right word, but I don't know the meaning.
That I can do, but I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, let me try a YouTube auto subtitle.
स्वरूप उपकार करना बनता है। ये भी एक हमने अच्छी तरह से निरीक्षण किया है, हर मनुष्य में उपकार बुद्धि है, उसको हम सर्वेक्षण कर सकते हैं।
So he's saying this is another thing that I have thoroughly studied, is that this benevolence is a tendency in all humans. I think he's saying tendency. So benevolent, he's saying, I have seen this, studied this very carefully, that benevolence is a tendency in all humans.
कि बचपन में हर बच्चे को देखें, स्वाभाविक रूप में सहयोगवादी प्रवृत्ति रहती है।
So if we look at each child in their childhood, we find that they have this tendency to be helpful.
सहयोगी प्रवृत्ति रहती है, यही उपकार बुद्धि का उपज का स्थली है।
उपकार बुद्धि है, I think. Each human being has this intellect capable of benevolence. So the evidence, he said, is that we can do a survey. We will find that in each child you can detect this tendency to be helpful. That there is this helpful tendency in each child when in their childhood, and that itself is the seed for the a buddhi which is involved in benevolence. So basically, helpfulness is the seed for benevolence, he's saying.
यही प्रौढ़ होने के पश्चात उपकार में प्रमाणित कर देता है।
So this childhood seed of helpfulness, that itself transforms into benevolence upon maturity. Basically saying when human adults mature, that helpfulness turns to this giving nature, this benevolent nature.
ये बचपन से ही हमको सर्वेक्षण से मिलता है, इसके लिए संसार में और कहीं दौड़ने की जरूरत नहीं, किसी मिशन से पूछने की जरूरत नहीं।
So we can spot this ever since childhood. We can do this survey for ourselves. For that, we don't need to run very far. We don't have to ask any particular mission or any particular authority.
आदमी को समझने से मतलब है, मानव के शिशुकाल को अध्ययन करने से मतलब है, इतने में ही इसका आधार बन जाता है।
All we need to do is understand human being, and all we need to do is study the childhood of human being, to study human childhood. On doing just that much, we can see this basis of benevolence as a seed in childhood.
स्वाभाविक रूप में जो बच्चों में जो उपकार में माने सहयोगी प्रवृत्ति रहती है, उसी को हम सुदृढ़ करते जाएं, वो उपकारी हो ही जाता है। इतने ही हमको करना है। शिक्षा में ये स्रोत को सार्थक बनाने की प्रावधान चाहिए। वो
It is simply that this natural tendency to be helpful in children is what can be converted into benevolence in maturity if only we keep strengthening this tendency of helpfulness in children. So all we need to do is strengthen the pre-existent natural tendency for helpfulness in a child, keep strengthening it throughout their childhood as they grow up, and that itself transforms into benevolence when they grow up.
शिक्षा में ये स्रोत को सार्थक बनाने की प्रावधान चाहिए। वो मानवीय शिक्षा ही प्रावधानित करे, माने सार्थक बनाएगा। यांत्रिक शिक्षा और व्यापार शिक्षा ये इसको सार्थक बनाएगा नहीं।
So we need some system or some provision to make this strengthening process, to ensure the strengthening process in our education system. So what he's saying is we need the provision to strengthen this source of benevolence in our education system. And that provision can only be possible in a humane education system. It is not possible in through technical education, and it is not possible in business education. It has to be humane education, that is education for humanity, rather than for technical skills or for business. That can ensure that we work to strengthen this natural tendency for helpfulness in children.
अभी तक हमने जो कुछ भी पाया है शिक्षा का स्वरूप यांत्रिक शिक्षा ही है, एक ठोक बजाओ समीक्षा है, और ये व्यापार शिक्षा ही है। ये
all that we have achieved in terms of education up till now has all been nothing but technical education and business education. This is a solid, confident, or loud and clear critique of the education system till now that I am making, he is saying.
ठोक बजाओ समीक्षा है, इससे अधिक कुछ भी नहीं है। ये मेरा घोषणा है, मेरा समीक्षा है। ये इस पर आपका ध्यान आकर्षण होने पर संभव है विकल्प की ओर आपका प्रवृत्ति हो जाए।
So it is a loud and clear critique. That this education is no more than technical education or business education. This is my declaration, this is my critique, and it is my attempt to draw your attention to this fact that if your attention is drawn to this, then it is possible that you may become more oriented towards an alternative.
व्यवहार शिक्षा की ओर आपका प्रवृत्ति हो जाए और प्रमाण शिक्षा की ओर आपका प्रवृत्ति हो जाए। प्रमाण का
So that you may become more oriented towards an alternative education, to a behavioral education, and to an authentic or evidence-based education, or an education for evidence.
का आधार मनुष्य होना आप स्वीकार, और प्रमाण शिक्षा की ओर आपका प्रवृत्ति हो जाए। प्रमाण का आधार मनुष्य होना आप स्वीकार लें, यह संभावना है, यह कोई असंभव नहीं है।
And that you may accept humans to be the basis of all evidence. That is a possibility. This is not impossible. So he's saying, I am drawing your attention to this fact by making this declaration, making this critique, because I feel in doing so, it opens up the possibility that you may then become oriented towards an alternative, something, an education system which is more behavioral and evidence-based, and you may realize that evidence is about humans and human conduct. This is a possibility. This is not impossible.
यह संभावना के आधार पर आपके साथ अनुनय विनय है, इसको आप एक बार विचार तो कर ही सकते हैं। इस ढंग से
And it is on the basis of this possibility that all my Anunay Vinay, what is Anunay Vinay exactly? All my beseeching, all my attempts at this explanation towards for you are directed, because I believe that this possibility exists. So in a sense, he's saying that when, sometimes we may have this question, okay, this makes sense to me, but there are so many people and everyone comes with a different mindset. How is it possible that people will all agree to this, right? This question emerges quite a few times. But he is saying, see, it is possible. It is possible when people's attention is drawn to this shortcoming. It is possible that they can consider an alternative, that they can consider something more meaningful and more human. And my entire attempt at sharing this with you, explaining this to you, is based on that possibility. And now, because there is this possibility, you can at least consider this one. You can think about this proposal once. The proposal that there can be human orderliness, we can live with humaneness, and that we can evidence humaneness. So that is how he's contextualized it. Okay, we have 5 minutes, so I think we can pause and talk about anything that you might be thinking about after today's session.
Yeah, so one point is that what about the education only, right? I think we discussed this earlier also in the another session is education is the education at least some of the schools and colleges are giving is good, but at the same time we need to embed the Siksha, what strengthen the foundation what children already have, right? So it is not necessarily that everyone has to take, that's what my thinking, and want to hear everybody's thought as well, that not everybody has to take out the kids from their school, but just make sure that some of these things are embedded maybe within the school or after the school, if somehow we can make it as a part of it, that would suffice, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's not about what to do. It is about how to view rather. When our view of the education system is clear, then we have lots of options on what we can do about it, given our current situation. Right. So here he's saying is that his view of the entirety of all kinds of education systems of humankind up till now, actually. So that's why he's saying it's a thok bajao critique. It's a very strong critique to be able to say something like this, that all education systems up till now have only been about technical education and education of business, of profiteering.
Right.
So it's a pretty strong critique and a declaration. So he's saying this is how he perceives it. Now, if we are to understand what he's saying and why he's saying it and agree with that viewpoint, now we can see that the education system is this much. It is extremely limited because, okay, technical skills are important, they're useful, but they are not our biggest requirement. That is not what education is supposed to be all about. So therefore, it is extremely lacking if our education system is nothing but technical education. And education of business is education of profiteering, which is absolutely unnecessary because that is not aligned with humaneness. So, because if you look at what is taught in business education, it's all about how to essentially cheat and lure and attract or basically sell things to people that they may not need of
Right,
their own.
right, yeah, exactly.
That's what
exactly.
is being taught.
Yeah,
Profit.
how do you sell refrigerator in the North Antarctica, something like that, right? How do you kind of, that kind of exercise people would do?
Yeah, and it was astonishing to me to find out how blatant they are about these things when teaching it in MBAs. I
Correct, yeah.
वो थोड़ा अच्छे से, I thought they would cover it up and, give it a whitewashed view, but actually it's quite blatantly like that. How do you sell something, like, I don't know, that example. How can you sell snow to someone who lives in a snowy place? Something like that.
Correct. Yeah.
So
But
that
that is how what is being taught, correct? Yeah. But at the same time, as what we are also saying that technical education is also important. That should not go away. So, and that has to continue. Along with it, we need to embed some of these morals or a kind of better things, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, so it is not so much as this is technical education and we embed morals into it. No, because that means your whole objective when an educationist is setting designing an educational system, their major objective determines all the other decisions that are made. What content, what classroom, size of classroom, number of teachers, interaction of how the teacher and students will interact.
Right.
Where will the classes be happening? All from the most minor decisions to the most major decision, including content, of course, is decided based on our objective. And the objective, if the objective is either technical skills or profit, then that entire system is going to be insufficient for imparting humane education. So it is not that you can do an addition of certain morals and make the system okay. Humane education is the main purpose of education, and technical education needs to be a part of it. So that is actually which is not to say we can immediately go from what we have today to that sort of an education system. There will always be intermediary steps, but we should know that we cannot do minor adjustments to this system to make it humane, to make it conducive for children to strengthen their tendency for helpfulness. Right now, it's very difficult. Like even right around me, there are some little children who go to school, and because there are so many, there are so many illnesses that go around every season. When the season is changing, some virus or the other is happening. A parent was saying that my elder child, she's very generous. She shares her water bottle with everyone, so she keeps catching these. But my younger one is very, she is very smart. If anyone asks her for her water bottle, she'll never give it. And so she doesn't fall sick. Now, the parents' concern is also valid. They don't want your child to be falling sick. But the problem is that in order to ensure their health, in this system, in a system where children are sitting in close quarters, in a closed room, not outside, not having enough physical exercise, so not having any physical robustness to protect themselves from these virals. In that situation, and also not having a water cooler which has worthy water, we have pure water to be drinking from. In that situation, that it makes most sense. The easiest solution is teach your child not to share a water because it transmits diseases. But that is just one small decision given in this setup, and there are several such examples in which there are so many ways in which, even if you have a moral class happening, where they're telling you that helpfulness is good, it is impractical in that system because that system is not oriented towards encouraging it.
Yeah, no, I think what point you made is very clear and very thing which I liked is that we need to figure out what is the main objective, and based on that, because I mean, as a parent, as we talk, right, when somebody says what do you want your kid to be, right? Suppose you say they need to be a good person, right? And when you say a good person, it doesn't mean that it kind of means that you're putting more weightage to the humane part, and then remaining things come along with it, right? So I think that kind of things really make sense, that our main objective has to be there, and then if the main objective is being fulfilled along with tech education or whatever is required, I would not say that to do a business per se, but I mean in a way that society has to function, right? I mean, even business in a way that you need to do kind of say some kind of transaction, I would not say, but yeah, like something to kind of survive yourself, and so that has to be still taken into account. So like in the righteous business, I would say, right, if that is being taught, that is good, yeah. But I think the main thing is that you need to keep the end goal or the main objective in perspective to decide anything.
Yeah. And then we can employ our creativity on what can be the transitory steps. You can do it one way, another one can do it another way, and then you can compare notes, and there can be lots of different types of intermediary steps also.
Yeah, so currently what I did or what I found is on the Madhyas Dasan website, there is some syllabus is being given. So, I mean, we are thinking of and kind of putting it along with my child's education right now, or basically as a additional thing. So that is in a print, like Hindi in printable format, which I think it's a very good thing that it's available on the website, which we can use. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. There is a syllabus also, and there is a curriculum also from class 1 to 14. But I think all parents and all people interested in education should look at. It's all in Hindi,
Yes.
and some of it we have translated. Actually, most of it we have translated. I'll share it with you.
Yeah, the
Oh no,
translation I could not
translated.
find on the website. It's still class fourth only, I think.
That is the content. So Baba wrote a curriculum, and then a lot of the students got together, and based on what he had guidelines that he had given based on the curriculum, they created content, textbook. Not really, they weren't textbooks, they're more like teacher guides from class 1 to actually 1 to 8th.
Please share if you have it handy. It's something on the website if you want to specifically point out, you can point that out. And yeah, that's good actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll find it on the website.
Website, yeah. I mean, if you can just point to the link, what you should look for exactly, I'll take a look.
I'm not familiar with the website. I mean, I'm not so familiar with the website, so I'll find it myself, then I'll share it.
Sure. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So there is okay. Anybody has any other point? Otherwise, I have just one more point here. Go ahead, Manjushri.
Vishta,
Hi.
it's not there. At our time, we did have a moral science class every day. And all these values in their own way were brought up. And quite drilled. And so there was a time when they did have, but instead of going further on this way, it went in another.
They
And then
they still happen in a lot of schools. In fact,
convent schools.
But moral classes, moral science is never just like EVS classes, environmental science classes, don't make any difference to children because it's just being taught. Even if you have a really inspired teacher, that is one thing that can make a difference. When the teacher embodies those values and you see the evidence of those values in your everyday engagement through her, then when she or he talk about those values, then of course it will hit home. But in the absence of that, these classes are just like children learn the answers and copy paste it and read.
That's why I said in our time, we had these moral science, there was no exam or test or answer. It was quite genuine.
Okay, that's good. I think that credit to the people involved in that. But it's not part of the system.
Not part of the curriculum.
It is great that there were individuals who saw value of that and were able to embody it genuinely and conduct it genuinely. But it didn't become part of the system. Therefore, what has actually the evidence that you see is that, you're right, there are not always exams on moral science classes, but children take it, it's not meaningful to them. It's just something that you have to go through, like an EVS class even. You just, it's like a free period sort of thing. You don't have to study. Or at best, you memorize.
Wow, but what I'm saying in our time, it was not like that. That's what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Now it may be,
I don't think it's about then and now. I think even now there might be some good people who are able to.
In our time, it was very, very much in the convent schools.
Yeah. Even now, they still hold moral science classes in convents and even in other spiritually inspired schools. But it remains at the level of faith and do's and don'ts, and there's no understanding that emerges from it. Because there's a difference between someone telling you that helping is good and helping is bad, and you understanding why helping is good and why helping is bad. Not good or bad, why helping is natural to you. Okay, thanks. Nipendra, you've shared this in the chat, no? The resource.
I shared a link, So in that, I can see that in the school they have class 1 to class 10. Is that the one which you're referring? Right, and there is a happiness curriculum from Delhi as well, right?
Yeah, lots of experiments in education based on this.
Okay. But you're saying that grade 1 to grade 10, what is there? That's something which we can start with, is it?
Grade 1 to 8 are the booklets.
What?
The guidebooks, CVMS books they call it. Chetna Vikas Mulya Shiksha.
Okay, Chetna Vikas. Okay, I think that's the one I think. Yeah. So this is the link. If you can just open and check if that's the one. I think that's the one. This is the link which you can click and then you can find from class 1 to class.
A load हो रहा है. I know they did put it up on the website. So might be this. Audio video. This is giving me the overall resource center, student resource. Now it has
study, and if you go to books, but not school, go to education material schools. Somewhere there.
Education material school.
Yeah.
Yes. Grade 1 to 10. ये पाठ्य पुस्तक है. And then there is the English textbooks also, translation of the same.
Okay.
Yeah, this is it.
That's the one, right?
Yeah.
These are actually, so is it still being followed in some of the schools? Like I was just saying somewhere that it's been followed in Madhya Pradesh, some schools. Is it still happening or is it not? Any idea?
I couldn't catch exactly what you're asking. Are you saying?
No, basically, Babaji is one of the videos saying that, okay, it is being followed in Madhya Pradesh in some schools.
Yeah,
Still happening or is it not?
Yeah, so Chhattisgarh government, the one that had taken this. In fact, a lot of the Chhattisgarh government school teachers have studied all the books and they were teaching these class 1 to 5 textbooks as part of I don't know what, like, in Delhi, they're calling it happiness curriculum. They called it something and they were teaching this material. And now there's also Abhibhavak Vidyalaya, a school run by students of JV who are using these textbooks. So one is at the level of government, then there's this level of individuals. Parents came together and they're like, we should run a school of our own.
Yeah, correct. There's something is there, yeah.
But finally, do these children have to go and join the regular schools?
Eventually, yeah, because right now the school is only till, one school is only till class 5. Another is, I'm not sure how, I think they've opened 6 to 8. So yeah, different schools are at different levels. So after that, the students join regular schools. And they do very well. They all excelled in when they transitioned to the other school. So it's not like they were lagging behind. Because they're any child who has had a more free and engaged education system can find it very easy to catch up to your regular.
Not syllabus driven and, that kind.
Yeah.
Nice.
But it would be some kind of a syllabus driven, right? Like
I'm trying to find the link to that. मुझे दिखा नहीं अभी तक. Chapter, this is all chapters. I'll find it and send it. I have the link from Google Drive.
Okay. You can give any link, doesn't matter. Any link you can give which really talks about the thing which we should be teaching the kids. That's what I'm interested in.
Yeah.
Okay. And I had one more point, but if you have time, that's okay. Otherwise, we can discuss some other time.
Yeah, we can. If it's a long conversation, I'll just pin it and we can take it on next time.
Yeah, sure. So this is a thought only again. So again, the thing which I was thinking is again this is applicable to me and everybody else who's there, right? So let's say currently as we are transitioning, right? Currently, as we discussed already in the previous sessions, that as we kind of going over our study and there going to be a middle step before we kind of do something on fully, right? Now in kind of, let's say we decide to kind of do our own farming in, let's say, a couple of years down the line. right? But at the same time, when we thinking of doing that kind of thing, eventually we need to purchase something, right? Some land, some purchasing has to be done, correct? Now, at that point of time, we need to purchase those things at the market price, right? We'll not be able to kind of do it other thing, right? Um, so, and while we kind of wait for that to happen, right, we need to kind of make sure that we are able to kind of afford that at the later point of time, right? So, is it worth kind of a say that, okay, we spend in the market now and then eventually, once we understood things and really want to kind of go further, then we'll kind of go and purchase at the market price because eventually you need to look after the accessibility other thing also, right? Again, there's this kind of question is coming to me, just sort of throw it out. Nothing need to be that you need to answer it now, or if you have something more to discuss, we can discuss. Otherwise,
Yeah, this is an interesting point. Let's give it sufficient time and we'll take it
yeah,
on.
correct. And we could discuss somebody else, or if anybody else has a point, we can do it later as well. So when we meet next time by the next Wednesday, I think we'll see.
Oh, wait, I also had to mention next Wednesday is 9th, na? So
Yeah,
Manjuji and Pashwa Devi, they already know this, but so there's this session that has been going on, a reading of the first book of Madhya's Darshan called Manav Vyavahar Darshan. So
mhm,
that Manav Vyavahar Darshan was translated, and
right,
there are sessions of reading out the translation and bits of explanation by different speakers. So one speaker who I know really well, she was unable to do hers last month, which was 7th of September. And because she had an accident and then someone else did it, but she had prepared a lot, so we felt she should get the chance to do her
okay,
presentation. So I have invited her to present in our session.
sure,
So
sure.
Wow,
next
That's good.
Wednesday.
that would be nice. Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So
So,
we'll
do you know which particular chapter she's going to cover?
Yes, she'll be covering chapter 10. It's called Klesh Mukti in Hindi.
Okay.
And in English, it is liberation from tribulation.
Oh, fine.
So
Okay.
Sure.
tribulation, any type of disturbance inside me is tribulation. So freedom from that.
Okay. Very nice.
Okay. Yeah,
Sure.
will do.
So
Bye.
Bye. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
Next
gonna leave,
Friday, that means.
Thanks, bye.
No, you say next Friday, that means.
Next Wednesday, right?
next Wednesday we'll meet, but next Wednesday we'll have this session.
Okay.
And so that will need 1.5 hours. So I was thinking 3 to 4:30 we can all manage, or we can break it up into 2 sessions also.
Okay. Hopefully we can, yeah.
We can.
Okay.
All
Okay.
right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.